Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to we do this twice a month, Circle of Success call for Plus Oils members. And tonight I always learn so much when Heesun comes and teaches our workshops on the Circle of Success calls. Whenever I think of my friends who are entrepreneurs, Heesun is like one of the first people that pops in my head. How many businesses do you have, Heesun?
Right now, three.
Three businesses that you're juggling. That's awesome. So I know your passion really is besides plants, also pets, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you do a lot with helping our furry friends and that. So I am so excited. Heesun is going to be talking tonight about how she engages using Zoom. So I use Zoom for calls. I use Zoom for, introductory calls with members. I'm excited to see what else Heesun has to talk tonight about Zoom. Because we know, with COVID this year, we've really had to pivot a lot of our businesses to Zoom, right? Or FaceTime or whichever. So there's been I feel like this is the year of the pivot where we're going one way with our businesses and then we have to pivot into another direction. And Zoom has been a great tool for that. So take it away, Heesun. Share what you have for tonight.
Oh yeah. I love like your wording on stuff, because like the pivot, I feel like that's the perfect description of what I've had to do with all three of my businesses and, adapt to like this COVID situation. And it was really hard in the beginning and really challenging for me and my instructors. But we kind of learn by, trial by fire. Like if we don't learn, we don't survive. So it's kind of like we just learned as we were going along, and we didn't know if it was going to work or if we were any good, but we just kept going. And then, I'm still learning. So I'm not here, to tell you guys like, oh, I have a final, like finished, polished product and I want to teach you that. It's more like I'm going through it now, and I wanted to share what I've learned, I guess, along the way. So, today's class is going to be about how to make Zoom classes more engaging. Because let's be honest, a video chat class, or a Zoom class, is super boring. It's really boring, let's just be honest. And if you're not engaged in the Zoom class, then it's really boring, right? So when you're teaching a Zoom class, just keep that in mind, because rule number one is appeal to the ego, right? So when you have people in your classes, in your Zoom class, you have to make them feel like they're a part of something, right? You have to make the audience feel like they're a part of it. Because even if your content is amazing and what you're teaching is amazing, if you don't ever engage the audience, they're just going to feel like kind of like useless and feel like they're not really a part of it, and it's going to be hard to retain those same kind of students or that audience for a long-term period. So I've kind of learned, like, just trial by fire, that different ways you can, connect with people and engage with them in a virtual setting. So the first thing is like a virtual handshake. So what I mean by a virtual handshake is when you point something out in someone's background, or you point something out about them. So that's what I call a virtual handshake. And that's like one way to make them feel like they're important and that, you care about them, like you're paying attention to them. So I can say something like, hey, Jessica, I love your hair. This just looks awesome. I love your hairstyle. Is that new?
No, it's not, but thank you so much for asking.
I love it. It's kind of like what I tried to do today. It's hard because to get the part. So that's an example of a virtual handshake. you really want to make sure that you're connecting with your audience and you're making them feel important.
I love, can I offer a virtual handshake? I love Andrea's comforter. It looks so cozy.
It does. Yeah, it does. And her lighting and everything, it makes it look so cozy in there.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a long day today, so my bed is very comfortable right now.
Yeah, awesome. Love it.
So when you say things, you don't, like, if you're pointing something out in someone's background or, you know, something they're wearing, there's a difference between saying, like, that sweater is nice and you look good in that sweater. And you guys can see what the difference is there, right? So you always want to make the object of the attention the person, always, not the, you know, what they have on, or, you know, don't make the object, make the object the person. So, and I've tried really hard in my Zoom classes to do this and to find different ways to do this in having to do with Young Living and essential oils. What if they aren't on video? I mean, you can't do anything about that, right? So for most of my classes that I teach, like the frankincense workshops, people are on video, and if they're not, I'll ask them to be on video prior to logging on. You know, I'll tell them before they, you know, buy a ticket for my class, I'll tell them, you know, one of the things that I ask is that everybody be on video, because I keep it small and intimate for a reason, so that everyone can engage and everyone can be a part of the class and ask questions. So I kind of just,
I was just in a class recently where it was the one that, oh gosh, David Little, the farmer from Young Living, he was talking at the farm, and it was a Zoom class, and he had asked in the invitation that everyone, you know, that it's a meeting, and in meetings you see each other, and that he asked that, you know, everyone be on video. So I thought that was, you know, a new thing to make that request, but it was nice.
Yeah, I think it's so important, Jen, because you know, to make your Zoom class fun and engaging and memorable, you really want everybody involved, right? Obviously, I'm not going to ask that of you guys today, because we're all one team. We're Plus Oils, and we're laid back, and we're, you know, just sharing things that we know. So I'm not going to do that to you guys. But if you're teaching like a legit class, you definitely do want to do that and build up your engagement in that class. So,
and I think generally speaking, the people on this call are leaders. So I think it is good to set that precedent that, you know, your people won't go on video if you're not on video, right? So you kind of want to set that example. Yeah,
absolutely. And I know it's like hard on a weekday with kids and everything, but Jen's right. It's like whatever you want your, you know, members to do, you kind of want to set an example through action for them to follow. So the other thing about the virtual, like rule number 1, appeal to the ego, is during a Zoom class, the rule number 2 is triggering the 5 senses, right? That's very important. And it's hard to do in a Zoom format or a virtual format, but you really need to do it so that you can really start to engage with people and make people excited about your classes. So in the 5 senses, instead of touch, I replaced it with feeling, so emotion. So emotion is like a really big thing when you're teaching virtual classes, because you need to be able to trigger the emotion of your audience. So you can do that by following rule number 1, right? Is always engaging them somehow, always making them a part of the class. It doesn't mean that you have to give them like a lot of spotlight. It just means that you have to give them some spotlight, you know, by asking them questions, by, you know, letting them ask a question or challenging them in some way. And this is really going to help you to build engagement and have people remember your Zoom classes long after they're over. So I think triggering emotion is really, really important. So some of us are like very gifted at this, you know, because we use the right words. Like Jen is a very good speaker. The words that she uses, she makes everybody feel very comfortable. So it's like that feeling is long lasting. Some people are just very inspirational in the way that they talk or the way they connect with the audience. And, you know, that's something that is going to be very memorable long after your Zoom class is over. You have to keep in mind that like most people right now are on homeschooling on the computer or teaching or at work on the computer for hours every day. So for them to go that extra mile and attend your oils Zoom class, it really has to be something special, because like for me, I teach on Zoom sometimes up to 5-6 hours a day. And the last thing that I want to do is then go on another Zoom to be on another class, right? So it has to be a class that makes them feel good, makes them feel comfortable, that they have fun in, and, you know, that you're triggering good emotions, positive emotions, so that they remember how they felt when they were in your class. And the next time you invite them, they're going to want to come again. Does anybody have anything to add about that? About, you know, how you feel on most Zoom calls and how you would like to feel on most Zoom calls, or how you would like others to feel?
Jessica.
I just wanted to mention that I've noticed when somebody contributes on a Zoom call, then the people who've contributed tend to be the ones who keep speaking up. So it's like people just need to find their voice and feel like they have one, and then all of a sudden that's who participates. So like the key is like almost just getting everybody to say something at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I think asking questions is good, right? Asking like challenging questions. So like Jen, what would be a good example of asking a challenging question that would engage a crowd, like a, you know, audience for oils?
He's done. What did you have in your diffuser today?
Exactly. Yeah, that's a great question. That's a great question, because it like connects with rule number 2, which is triggering the 5 different senses, right? So we're going to go through each one. What brought you here tonight? Yeah, that's a good question too.
Yeah.
That's what Marlisa
you know,
said.
Talking about senses, it kind of got me thinking. We have next week, we have the Dive Deeper introductory call with Peggy. Maybe if you invite any friends to it, maybe you want to send them some, you know, if they don't have their starter kit yet, some oils on a, you know, maybe a lavender on a drop of a cotton ball, or maybe like thieves and purification on some cotton balls for them to smell, and put in like a little Ziploc bag so they don't get mushed together, to engage those senses. Like you said, Heesun, like it would make it a little more experiential.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to go through each sense that you want to trigger when you're teaching Zoom calls. And this is a class obviously for leaders, and I believe in you guys. Like, I think you guys are highly motivated, highly, you know, you have a lot of drive, and you really are passionate about sharing wellness with the community. And that's why I'm giving you like a more advanced class. So the first sense that you want to trigger is sight, right? Sight is really, really important. So if you notice my lighting is very important, because I'll show you the difference. Look at how different this is, right? So imagine I'm teaching a class like this in the dark versus it's so different, guys. And you know, you want to create like a very bright and positive environment for people, where you are present, like you're really present, and you're making the time and the energy for them. So people notice things like that. So if you're teaching and you're really trying to share wellness with the community through an online format, you really have to think about the visuals, right? The lighting, the colors. So I wear blue on purpose because when you wear blue, people, you know, there's things associated with the color blue that when people see you in blue, they tend to take you more seriously. You know, you come off as more professional, so everything you say is more, you know, people can trust you more, versus like red. If I'm wearing red, it's like a totally different like vibe, right? If I'm wearing red, like I don't know what vibe you guys get from the red versus the blue, but it's really different. So red, it's like stands out more. Let's see. I don't know what vibe changes. If anybody gets like a different reaction from the red versus the blue, let me know.
I don't know, because you
Va Va Boom is the red.
Red.
What did you say?
I said, I don't know, because you look really beautiful in red.
Oh, thank you.
You look beautiful in blue too, but as soon as you lifted your shirt up, like red's great on you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, but your point.
Yeah, red pops, right? So if you're having like a, you know, like a fun holiday class and you want things popping, then you want to wear red, right? And blue is more like my go-to color because I'm not normally like a very like I don't like public speaking, guys. Public speaking is so hard for me. Like I get super nervous, and even like on these Zoom calls, I get so nervous. So it doesn't come naturally to me to like all these concepts that I'm going over with you. It really doesn't come naturally to me, and I'm like very awkward when it comes to public speaking. So I try not to stand out too much. Like with red, I try to like downplay my colors because it's just my nature. I think that I don't like to like, I don't know. It's just hard for me. Can anyone relate with me on that, where you don't want to like stand out too much, or you feel nervous when you're teaching a class and you feel like all eyes are on you?
Heesun, this is Whitney. I definitely get nervous before calls. It's funny because before a call, my husband kind of look at me and kind of just tell me to just cool down, just chill out, you know, because he can see, you know, the hype and, you know, in my eyes. And when I get nervous, I start talking real fast, you know, and kind of stuttering over my words because I'm just trying to get the message out so quickly. You know what I mean? So it's just, I do get nervous. So I always smell my valor right before my classes. Just to kind of calm me down a little bit and to give you that confidence and courage that I need, because I think I'm horrible on my Zoom classes. I think I bomb it every single time horribly. But yeah, I definitely understand that. I see how you feel with that.
Thank you. I understand where you're coming from too, because like my entire first 2 years of teaching, I felt like I bombed everything, but it was those really, you know, tough experiences where I was sweating underneath my shirt and I was babbling and I was going off on tangents. It was those really rough experiences, and then no one wanted to come to my classes. That taught me how to be a better teacher and how to be a better presenter, and just really just push through like my weaknesses, right? Because we're in the business of sharing health and wellness. Like we're trying to help our communities. That means a lot more than me being nervous about public speaking. So I have to get over it, right? So I've really like pushed myself throughout the years to get better. And I've, you know, taken classes, and I've, you know, sometimes I watch Jen and I learn so much from Jen because she's such a great speaker and such a great presenter. And I borrow a lot of her verbiage because she uses words that make people feel very comfortable. So these are like all things that I think as teachers, you know, we have to continually strive to be better and teach one another like what we've learned, because that, you know, we're in the business of sharing wellness. The sight factor is really, really important when you're teaching Zoom, because I would say, you know, with visuals, I would say like there's people that learn by hearing, there's people that learn that are very visual, learn by seeing, and then there's people that learn by reading better. So there's different types of people, but the majority of people are tend to be more visual. So you guys know, like Vanessa talked about with your posts, right? Your posts should be like very vivid, good photos. so that people notice your pictures. And on Zoom, you want to also use colors and vivid imagery to aid in your teaching. So I use share screen a lot. And when I choose my graphics or my study aids for share screen, I use very vivid colors and images that are going to stand out and challenge people. So for example, contrast is really important. So as far as regular posting, can someone just comment really quick on what has been effective for them when it comes to regular posting? Like picture-wise, visual-wise.
I'm not sure if this is what you're looking for, but not too, I don't know how to frame this, not like too busy, but also not too stark. So like, I don't know, I post stuff really natural, like a lot of what I'm posting is in natural use of my product. So like my kid putting on a roller or something, but I'll try to catch him on like the couch where there's not as much going on, or it's not as busy or something like that. Or if I take pictures of my oil bottles, sometimes I'll just take them outside where it's just in like a grassy background or something like that. So I try to do like not overly busy, but also natural. But a lot of people post very propped, staged, clean pictures. So I think it depends.
Yeah, that's a good point, Vanessa. I think the natural photos definitely draw my attention. I'm a very, very visual person. Like my thoughts are all in vision. When I think, they're all like pictures in my mind. That's how much of a visual person I am. So when I'm going through like, with all the thousands of like followers and people I follow and social media accounts, like I don't stop unless something pops for me. Right. And the natural element pops for me. And, with the kids, like that really appeals to like the audience, a target audience for like families and moms for sure. One thing I do want to say though, this is like more advanced, is if you look at what's going on right now with posting in Instagram and Facebook and all over social media with Young Living and essential oils in general, everybody's pictures look the same. If you guys have not noticed this, they're all using very similar clean filters, right? What do they call them, Caitlin? They're like these apps where you get like the Lightroom apps.
Yeah, they're filters. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you notice,
well, like photo, the Lightroom app is like a photo. I mean, I guess you can upload filters to it, but it's like a photo editing app.
Yeah, no, what I was looking for the word where like you use the same like
a preset.
Yeah, the presets. Thank you. So yeah. like the presets, right, that are available now, like they're great and all, right? But the thing is that everybody's pictures look the same and nothing stands out to me anymore. Like when I scroll through Instagram, I don't stop for those pictures because it doesn't grab my attention. So what would grab people's attention is contrast. Okay, so they have to be challenged somehow through your picture or your post. And it could, I agree with Vanessa that it should be something very simple, like not too busy, but there should be some challenging element in the photo or a contrast. Like for example, and I don't think I could share screen, right? Jen?
I made you co-host, so you probably can.
Okay. It's hard to, well, I don't have an example right now, but I would have to dig for it. But like a contrast meaning like there's a dark like background, but then there's a shining light on the oil, right? Or if you're doing like thieves cleaner, instead of all these presets that everyone does and they just, do a picture of like the thieves cleaner, like that's boring, guys. Like no one wants to see that anymore. You could do something like where everything is dirty and then this one spot is clean and the thieves cleaner is there. something like that. That's a contrast, right? That's something that's going to grab people's attention, and they're going to remember your photo. Like the posts that I remember the most are the posts that I always go back to. I always go back. If I remember a picture and it stood out for me, I always go back to their accounts to see what other content they've put out there, because I'm so interested. Like they've interested me now. So it has to stand out somehow and challenge me in a way. Does that make sense? Marlisa wrote like white background, bright, clean. Yeah, and that's great. But you know what? Everyone's doing that. So we have to kind of find a way to stand out.
Yeah, it's a really, really good point, Heesun.
I think every post we should have some type of contrast, and that highlights our products or highlights like our point of perspective of what we're trying to achieve through that post. And then, and you can get as creative as, you can get really creative with those posts. Like you can, people get political, people get spiritual, people get artistic. Like there's so many things. It could be simple, but really like deep at the same time. And I wish I had visuals to show you right now. I'm sorry that I don't. It's hard when it's not my own Zoom room. Okay, so the next sense is hearing, right? So this is something that I have challenges with too, and I need help with, and I keep like practicing and learning to get better. But you have to be animated, very animated on a Zoom call. So I'm going to get very animated right now, right? Because when you're teaching on Zoom, it's so boring. So if you don't change your tone, it's so boring. And it's so hard for people to like want to be in your class and listen to you if you're not animated. So animation is so important. And I learned a lot of these tips from Sue Pellicati, who's like an amazing teacher. She knows so much about like teaching Zoom and being effective. She actually said like you should stand up when you teach Zoom because you bring a different vibe and a different energy when you're standing up. So when you teach, I think standing up, that's like such a great tip from her. Standing up really brings a stronger energy. So I would do that, and also, change speed. This is hard for me. So I'm practicing it now while I'm telling you guys. You shouldn't just keep doing the same speed and the same tone, because that is like very, very boring in an online class. And it's very hard for people to pay attention to what you're saying if you have the same tone and the same speed. Also, more advanced, this is even harder, is take pause and breaks. Right? You say something and then you take a pause and a break so it sinks in. Whitney said, LOL. Make open-ended statements. That's really important. So if I say something just as a fact all the time, it almost like doesn't, it makes the audience feel kind of like useless because they feel like they don't have any thought, they can't think for themselves. So open-ended questions give them a way to think about things and feel like they're part of the process. So an example of an open-ended question is, frankincense has been proven through numerous studies to be really good for rheumatoid arthritis and to support, support happy emotions and to help you with respiratory support. However, and this is the open-ended part. However, there's new studies being done every single day, and I don't know everything, but I learn as much as I can. And when I find out the new studies, I always go and read it, and so that I could share it with you guys. So that is kind of like an example of an open-ended question, because you're not coming off like you know everything, and you're leaving some like kind of thought, you're handing the ball to them too, like, hey, why don't you think this part through as well? Like, you have a part in this process. It's not just me.
You know what? I thought of an idea as you were talking. It kind of sums up the two previous points that you brought together. Was if you ask your attendees to have a piece of paper and pen handy, maybe like in the beginning of the class, you know, that's a way of asking an open-ended question, and also taking a pause to say, you know, maybe write down 2 people in your life who you think could use some thieves, right? And then you can pause. And then, you know, and they could use that pad as a way of, because sometimes pausing can even feel uncomfortable, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great way to do like an open-ended question, Jen, because it connects back to like people trying our products. So that's great. I think that's a really good idea. And if anyone else has a good example of an open-ended question, please share it, because I would like to write it down. It's hard to do that. It's an advanced skill. But it makes people feel like they have, their thoughts matter. Emotions are so important. So that's the hearing part of it. If anyone has any other points with hearing, let us know. If you guys are like hearing people, let me know. I'm not a hearing learner, I'm a visual learner. So I have a lot to say about visual, but with hearing, if there's any hearing people here, let us know. If there's any like nuances that we should know about. Also,
you know what? I have an idea for hearing. I think this is a hearing skill or a hearing tip. Is I like to connect oils. The first letter of the word of an oil with what it's good for. So like cypress starts with the letter C and circulation. Marjoram and the letter M and muscles. So when I teach classes, I'll often say those little tips when I think of them.
Yeah, that makes sense. You definitely like appeal to people with your like, with you, Jen, when I think about your classes, like I enjoy them the most because of what I'm hearing, for sure. So I don't know how you're doing that, but you need to teach us how you're doing that. It's like your voice and your laugh too. They're really, you know, like, I don't know, just bright, and, you know, it's like so laid back and so calm and so positive, and just, you know, nothing difficult, right? I think I'm more of like a difficult teacher, you know, I challenge more, you know, I kind of like go up and down, and I'm more of like a contrast teacher, and you're more of like, you really like calm people, relax people, make them feel like, what's the word? Like accepted, like no matter what walk of life they're from, they can all kind of relate with you, which is great. At ease. Yep. Thank you, Marlisa.
Well, thank you. I mean, we all have a different skill set to bring to the table. So I'm glad to be doing this with everyone on the call.
So the third sense is smell. That one's really hard, but we need to activate that because we're Young Living distributors.
That's a big deal.
That's a really big deal. It really is, right? Aromatherapy is huge for us. So we really
and Young Living. I mean, our lavender is so different than every other lavender.
Yeah.
You know, and you could only tell that through smell.
Yeah, and but the $1 million question is how do you activate smell, someone's like sense of smell over Zoom virtually, right? That's so hard. But you can by asking them to think about a smell that makes them feel good. Like bring it up, like say, oh, you know, like have you smelled the vanilla? And show it to them, right? So you're adding visual and the emotion of the smell. That smells so good. Have you guys smelled that? It's amazing.
Marlisa says, imagine being in a field where you're surrounded by thousands of lavender plants.
Exactly. Yeah. And orange, right? Bring up orange. Orange is a great one to bring up. And then actually like have them smell an oil. Have them smell an oil. You know, say like, what is your favorite, or, you know, like Jen said before, like, what are you diffusing in your diffuser? That's a great question to ask people. Or what is your favorite oil to diffuse, right, when you're in class? Or, hey, do you have like a favorite oil that you like to smell? And tell them to smell it.
I mean, I teach online math classes, and we were at a workshop, and they're saying that it's really important that when we teach Zoom classes, we can't replace, like I used to teach in-person classes. Like I would go to people's houses with dozens of, you know, maybe 5 to 8 people, 12 people, and I would teach a class there, and it would be very experiential because we're passing around oils and the room smells amazing. But when we bring that to Zoom, when we transfer, whether it's an essential oil class or a math class, we transfer it from from in-person to Zoom, we can't transfer, it doesn't translate right across. You have to actually come up with new skills and new ways of teaching that, you know, it's like, it's a totally new skill set to be able to teach an online class than it is an in-person class. Innovative. Yep. So, but Vanessa reminded me again what I said. I do like my idea of, if you're teaching a class and someone does not have their oils, send them some oils in the mail before the class. Have them something that they can smell and touch and engage with them. And then I'd probably also throw in some kind of literature for them to read too, in case they're more of a visual learner.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are all really great ideas. And, you know, we need to start practicing this, because we don't necessarily need these skills to teach one another, you know, in Plus Oils when we have our Plus Oils classes. But as we grow and as we advance and we reach other markets, we definitely need these skills. So I would just start practicing them now. So for all the teachers this season who are going to be teaching a lot, I would start incorporating some of these skills and start practicing.
I love what Whitney just said. She said that it would be a fun game if you send oils to them before the class and have them guess the smell.
Isn't that so cool?
Oh yeah.
Wouldn't that be so cool? I would love that.
Yeah,
that would be great.
Game. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
idea.
That'd be amazing.
And then have to attend your call to get the answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be so enticing. Or they can even win. That we had thrown around that idea.
They can like win an oil or something if they guess it right, or you know they have like a good or if they guess close enough or something, they could win an oil or something like that. That would be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are really great ideas for intro classes. Really great ideas. So I know like many of you are teaching intro classes this season, so make sure that you start to write this down, you know, incorporate some of these skills and start practicing, because practice makes perfect. With that said, I am going to choose somebody. The last one is taste, so let me just finish the last one. It's taste. It's hard, but you know what? It's like, hey, I'm tasting. And then, you know, people are going to wonder what you're tasting, and I'm doing a shot of Ningxia Red. And I'm probably going to say,
I'll still cheers. Yeah.
Cheers. Thank you. So with Ningxia Red, you know, I always like, we'll drink it and then someone will ask, well, what are you drinking? You know, is that wine? And I say, no, it's my daily shot of Ningxia Red. And I'll choose an oil that I know they probably haven't tried yet, but that they're familiar with the taste. So like jade lemon. So they know kind of like what lemon tastes like, but they've not actually tried this oil. So I'll say, oh my God, this is so amazing.
Incredible.
Mm-hmm. Am I activating your taste senses, Jen?
Yeah. Like I've never smelled lemon like Jane's lemon.
So it's difficult on Zoom, guys, but all these little like innovations make a really big difference. Thirsty now?
I'm thirsty now too. Like I didn't get my Ningxia shot yet today, I don't think. Or maybe I did, but I didn't get my second one at least.
So I'm gonna leave the last like 10 minutes of class so we can have a discussion or ask questions. But before I end, I do want to like choose. Wrote everyone's name down who attended today, and I'm gonna choose one person, right, to get a free class, free credit to my next frankincense workshop class, which is in January.
Ooh.
So it's worth $25, and I'll choose someone.
Wow.
All right.
Drum roll.
Okay, here we go. Caitlin.
Yay!
Caitlin!
Caitlin!
Yay!
That's so sweet of you, Heesun.
Congratulations!
Yay,
These
really?
classes are such a treasure.
Yeah.
Caitlin, you won.
I never win
Such a treasure.
anything. That's so
Congratulations.
exciting. Thank you.
Those
You're welcome.
classes are incredible.
Yeah, for real. Oh my
They
gosh.
are incredible.
Yeah, well,
So
thank you,
yeah,
Heesun. This is a great
you're
workshop.
welcome. And I do want to hear from you guys, like about ideas that you have about, you know, when you're teaching, other ideas that you have, because I'm going to write that down too, because I teach Zoom every day and I can take any tips and tricks. I would appreciate.
I came on a little late because I had a family call that kind of popped up last minute. So I apologize. And I don't know if you guys covered this earlier, but maybe we can share some tips with one another about, if this wasn't covered already, about how to invite successfully to classes, how to get people to attend classes, like how to promote. And then an idea I wanted to throw out there, with which Marlisa and Whitney had done last week, was to partner up and teach a class together, because it can be kind of intimidating when you first start. And if you have another host there, you know.
Well, Katie, we have the Dive Deeper call next week is an intro class for people to invite their friends and family. So I think it would be great. You know, I would love to see everyone host a Zoom call for the holiday season on their own or partnered up. But I think it would be good or timely right now if we could strategize how to invite people to Peggy's Dive Deeper call, the steps for that, and how we can capitalize on Peggy's work. Because Peggy really, I mean, I'm really good at inviting people to things. And then I want to say capitalize. I don't know if that's the right word, but like I take advantage of the third party verification that, I love the oils. People know I love the oils. But when I invite people to, when Chris Opfer was having his calls, or when Peggy does her calls, like Peggy's so easy to sell because she's an aromatherapist. I mean, who doesn't want to go to a free essential oil class taught by an aromatherapist? It's free, Yeah. So,
but on the other side of that, many of us want, we're trying to kind of branch on our own and reach our people and host classes and kind of step up as leaders to get that authority of the oil person amongst our peers. I meant more like that, but no, we should strategize for both. Yeah.
What I would say, guys, as far as like intro classes, addressing what Katie and Jen said, is I think for all intro classes, we should always pair up and partner and help each other and be each other's hype women, because it helps so much. And I saw in the comments, like, it's already helped you guys so much. I feel like with intro classes, we should always partner up. Like if one person is having one, then you don't have to teach one that month. Everybody joins that one and invites like members, and it's just more encouraging to be together, and that's why we have this community. But with special classes, right, I could teach another class about that in the future in Circle of Success. But if you want to build engagement and learn how to invite people to like your special classes, that's different. Like that's building a niche, and that's kind of spinning off your brand and building a niche for classes. So that's something else, and I can go over that with you guys like in the future. But as far as like intro classes, I feel like they're so much more fun when we do them together, and when we invite, you know, people to Peggy's, and when we invite people to, you know, Whitney's and Marlisa's and Kate. It's just much more encouraging that way.
So Caitlin is doing this idea right now, and I know she posted it in the sharing Facebook group where she's like offering 10 people to give sample, like she sends 6 samples to, and then they're invited into this private Facebook group. And but I had a thought that maybe like using that kind of in a way for the intro calls too, that if you sign up, and it could be a way to kind of guarantee attendance, like come to this intro call for, I don't know, $5, I'll send you 6 samples out of the starter kit a week in advance. You can smell them as we're talking through the kit. And then if you get started, I'll Venmo you that $10 back. Like, so it's not, you know, we're not stealing their $10, but if they don't end up signing up, then they still have samples to diffuse or inhale or whatever. I mean, it takes more work.
What kind of
but I
samples
think it's
would
also...
you send, Vanessa?
Honestly, Vanessa, sorry, Jen, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just started this today. I posted it today. And so far, 4 people have responded to me, and they are all 4 people that I could literally deliver it to.
That's nice.
So like,
yeah.
I don't want to discredit you saying like to charge it for the samples or whatever, but just so far my experience with it has been people that I could just hand it to. So
No,
I wouldn't even need to mail it.
Yeah, I'm not even talking about like the mailer fee, just as a way to commit. Like,
just like the,
has had a lot of success with
because people value.
You get commitment. So if I'm going to pay $10, I'm going to go to a class for it because I paid for it, you know?
Yes.
But we don't want to be charging for our intro calls. It's part of this community that they're free.
Right.
So in that way, it makes it free. Like you're interested, obviously. So you're coming to the call. Chances are at some point you'll get the starter kit. So whoever invited them and sent the kit can keep track. And then whenever down the road, 6 months or 6 days later, they could reimburse that $10.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Or even $5 or whatever. Just as like a commitment level, not for covering costs of anything, really.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. I think that might be something that I'll do for the next time around. That's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Jen, as far as like what you asked about the samples, so what me and Kimmy are doing at this time is we have about 6 oils from the starter kit that we're giving little samples of. And then with those 6 oils, we're giving like extra things that you would like do with it. So like we're doing like lemon and thieves vitality, and then we're giving like a tea bag. So then we'll explain to them like, hey, this goes really good. Like if you were to make a hot cup of tea, like you could put a drop of lemon and a drop of thieves in it. Or like peppermint vitality, because that's also in the starter kit, like with like a packet of hot chocolate or something. So it's not like really extensively expensive, but it definitely goes along with things that you can do with the starter kit oils. So that's really what we're focusing on for this, but we only did 6 different days.
Yeah. How many drops are in your sample?
So anywhere from like 8 to 10 drops.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've always, when I've given out samples with drops, those people have never turned around and ordered from me, because then they have their oils, right? So,
yeah, that's true. I haven't had any experience with that, yay or nay.
I would err on the 8 drops and closer to 8 rather than 10.
Yeah, no, everybody honestly that I have given samples to has ended up ordering. I might just be on the lucky side so far. I'm not really sure, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
I haven't really had like an issue with that.
Yeah.
But I see where you're coming from with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So because I want to say like I've gotten burned right that way because I like used to give out samples of like tiny bottles with like little drops in them.
Right.
I've made a rule for myself. I mean, this is my rule, is that, and it's like, you know, there's no judgment for, you know, not doing this. But I've made a rule that I only send those diffuser bombs. That's the only kind of sample that I send people, because that's like a one-time thing.
Right.
And it's duplicatable. But,
right.
But I do think that there are times, especially the holiday season, where it's important to break some rules.
Yeah.
And
Or what about
and be over generous?
What about a diffuser bomb starter kit?
Yeah, right? That's a good idea.
Sample out so that we're getting what Heesun was talking about. We're getting that smell factor. And you can literally mail it with stamp. It can be a drop on cotton rounds of every oil in the kit and partner up with one another. Well, they can smell them, the cotton rounds, if they don't have a diffuser.
Or put it in their car vent and it acts like a little diffuser, or in their
drawer. But like they're not supposed to open them until the Facebook class where you're doing the intro.
Right. And so that's the thing is that, I'm like
to simulate going around your living room and having them smell the oils as you talk about each one.
Right. Right. Yeah. So like specific days are going to be for each thing.
Maybe labeling the diffuser bomb as, instead of like labeling like lavender, thieves, purification, maybe labeling them 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yep.
And then everyone could, you know, open them up, smell it, you know, and not really know
that was Whitney's idea to like guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Emily, I'll send you the link to the bottles. I saw you commented for the little sample bottles. If anybody else wants them, I can send it to you as well.
Just saying, there's a week until the next intro class. That's plenty of time to mail a diffuser bomb if people get posting tomorrow. 1 week from today, my team is hosting an amazing intro call. If anybody's interested in new to oils, a sample pack will get in the mail to you by tomorrow morning in time for the class.
Yeah.
Yep, that's a good idea.
You get a chance to win a $20 account credit.
And you get a chance to win a $20 account credit to get $20 of your starter kit paid for.
These are amazing ideas to engage people.
So we're all nice to see. Who wants to spend some time tonight making a little post so that we can all post it tomorrow?
And then the other thing that is so good is, I'm going to pat myself on the back. In Plus Oils, we get text reminders for the call. So you can tell your friends, text this phone number, the word dive, because it's a dive deeper call, and you'll get a reminder. Now, when they do it, they'll get a reminder, unless they tell me to stop, they'll get a reminder for every dive deeper call after that too, which is fine. I mean, hopefully they're part of the Plus Oils community and they just jumped in and they're attending calls anyway. But you could tell them, you know, if they're done with the calls, they can just message me back and say, can you take me off these reminders? And I can do that easily.
Or we should just have them stay on it, because then they'll be like, oh, all right, I should just join.
Right. And then another thing, guys, is don't forget the 101 text class. If they text that number 101, they'll get the 10-day free text class. So they get 2 texts a day, once in the morning, once in the evening from me. And it just drips the information on, because sometimes people go to these Zoom calls and it's just way too much information for them to digest all in 1 hour.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, that's a way of getting it dripped on them slowly. Jess, what's up?
How is that different than the Now What?
So the Now What has the perspective of, they have their starter kit Now What, so it's going to talk them into tips on how to use their starter kit. So it just has a different perspective. The 101 is for people who don't have their kits yet. Yep.
All right. Thanks, ladies. I had a wonderful time. I hope you enjoyed the class.
Thank you, Heesun.
Heesun. It was wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Thanks,
you.
Jen. All right. Have a good night.